Hello, everybody. Can you
Hold
hear
on.
me?
No, not working. Is it on?
Brad.
Yep, we hear you. Hello.
Oh.
Zoom. Oh, okay.
So you
Thank
gotta
you,
yell.
everybody.
You gotta yell.
Hello, everybody.
There we
Hi
are.
there. It's nice to see
Hi.
you all in person and everybody on Zoom as well. I just want to congratulate all of you for successfully getting through the idea phase, the first part of the Nittany AI challenge. Give yourself a round of applause. So I've been reading a lot of the proposals. I haven't had a chance to go through all of them, but the ones I've read are really amazing. So I'm looking forward to going through all of them and working with you this semester. So just to introduce myself, my name is Stanish Rastogi. I'm the president of the Nittany AI Student Society. And with me today, I have 4 of the other exec members. All of us, you'll get to work with everybody, but all of us have been through the Nittany AI challenge. We have a lot of experience, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you. What we do is we guide you through the Nittany AI challenge, and we're going to have weekly workshops. We're going to connect you to resources like the Launchbox across the Penn State community, and we're going to have social events so you can meet other students on other teams, which was a really big ask from previous challenges. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Lee Erickson, who is the chief amplifier here at the Launchbox, which is an institution in the Penn State entrepreneurial community. I've been in it for about like 2 years, and the Launchbox always comes up. It's a really big thing here. So please listen well. You're going to learn a lot tonight. It's about customer discovery and design thinking. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off.
Thank you. I have this thing. So welcome. So if we have time in the end, we'll tell you about all the wonderful things that we have at the Launchbox. I got to most of your teams. I didn't get to everybody. This is going to be crazy, wild, fast. You are going to, at some point in this night, go, I have no flipping idea what I'm doing. That's okay. Don't worry about it, right? Just lean into it. It's perfectly fine. What we're hoping is that you can take away some key tenets that make sure that you actually are building something that somebody wants. Okay. So that's our quote. What if we found ourselves building somebody that nobody wanted? In that case, what did it matter if we did it on time, on budget? I've been a judge for the Nittany AI challenge, and I know that talking with the judges and myself, one of the things that often gets teams scored low is they don't understand their customer. They can't describe the problem that they're trying to solve and why it's a problem, or they don't understand the ecosystem they're selling into. Okay. So all of this is supposed to help you be a little bit more cognizant of those things. So when you do your final presentation, you can say, here's the problem I'm solving. Here's who has it. Here's why it's a problem. Here's why certain solutions aren't working. And here's how I'm going to fix that. Okay. All right. So, yes. Okay. So it's that way. And I'm getting, okay. There's a couple different ways that you can come up with defining a solution to a problem, right? Some people start with the problem. I got a problem. Then you say, who are the people with the problem? Identify solution that fixes it. And then you add technology. How many of you started with a problem that you could define that you wanted to fix? No, not thinking technology, but the problem. Okay, a few. That's great. Okay. Another way is you start with a group of people. I want to help people that have this particular, that meet this specific target characteristic. And then you say, all right, what are the kinds of problems that they're encountering? Then you would identify a solution. Then you would figure out what technology would do. Okay. How many of you started with a group of people? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think the mental health group is starting with a group of people that have a particular problem. Okay. Some people say, I love AI. What can I do with it? Okay. You start with the technology. Then you say, all right, is there a problem or is there a person? And how do I do it? Sometimes you start with the problem. Sometimes you start with the person. I don't care where you start. All these are valid ways to start. But regardless of where you start, you have to come up with the intersection of those 4 things. The problem, the person who has it, the technology, and the solution. Otherwise, it's just for fun. Okay. So all the pieces have to come together. Okay. So I'm blowing through this. So the key to this, and what we're going to talk about tonight is how do you build something you know that your customer or user wants versus what you think your customer or user wants, okay? How do you do that? Okay, design thinking, the process. What is, do you believe, and I've already queued you up, the number one reason why startups fail? Just tell me. You know the answer. What do you think?
There's nobody that wants the solution.
They built stuff nobody wants, okay? That's a big risk, okay, for anybody, right? And I think that's a risk for you in this competition. So design thinking starts with desirability. What do people want to solve their problem? Then it looks at feasibility. Can I deliver something that will fix that problem? Then it looks at viability. Can I turn that into an actual company? I realize that not all of you are doing this because you want to turn this into a company, but the people that are evaluating your technology will want to know all three of these things at some point. We are going to start with only desirability. Tonight, you do not have to worry whether it's feasible. I know the engineers in there and the technical people are in here saying, what? You don't have to worry about it, okay? So it's a 5-step process that we're going to blow through tonight that starts with empathizing and understanding the problem, then defining the needs of that individual target group, coming up with crazy ideas that might fix it, prototyping, and if we have time, we're going to actually let you prototype with some of these materials over here. And for the people at home, we have kind of a different set of instruction for you, and then you test it. Okay, this is what the process looks like. That's why I'm saying don't be alarmed. You are in the beginning, you are up here in this goo, okay? All right, any questions, comments before we go? How many of you know about design thinking? Excellent, I expect those teams to rock it. A lot of you do, which is very good. It can be really hard if you're technology minded to move away from that because you get so excited about the technology and you want to build. I'm telling you, I've seen this before. You will do things faster if you stop and define what you're building than just build something because you can build it. Okay. So typically what you would do in this process is you would interview a bunch of people and ask them about the context of their problem. Okay. You've been spending a lot of time doing this. How many of you have gone out and talked to individuals without mentioning your solution? How many of you have gone talked to individuals, said, here's my solution, and asked them what they think? Common. Here's what you're going to find out. If you say, I've got this great idea, it's going to make sure that this happens, it's going to solve all these problems, would you be interested? Well, what do you think their answer is going to be? You basically have asked them if they believe in world peace. There's no other answer. So typically what you would do is go out and talk to people about the nature of their problem. What is your context again?
We're trying to make it simpler to apply to.
Right. So you've made a bunch of assumptions about how difficult it is, right? It's great. We all start with assumptions. We're going to do some assumption testing tonight. But you can go talk to people and say, tell me about the last time you looked for a job. How did that go? And if they say, well, you know, there's something. Well, tell me more. The very first thing they say is probably the thing that's the most painful to them, which might be a way for you to start. Okay. Okay. Whoop. Too many things. So the goal of this is to understand what the problem is, who has it, why they need a solution, and where current solution failed. I guarantee you will get asked these questions at the end, right? By the judges. Okay. Root cause. What's a root cause? Who can define what we mean by root cause? Yeah. The source of the problem, why it's a problem, right? Here's what happens a lot of times. People don't understand the root cause of the problem. And you can use something called 5 whys, okay, to help you through that. It's really important. I was teaching, I used to work at GE and I used to teach people on these big systems. And I had a client that said, nobody's using the software to put all the data in. We need training. It sounds reasonable. But I went and talked to the users and found out they knew exactly how to do it. It wasn't that they didn't know how to do it. It was that once the data was in the system would do their job. So why do you think those people weren't putting data into that system? If once the system has all the data, it does my job, why am I not in a real hurry to put all the data in the system? I'm gonna lose my job. The root cause of the behavior was fear of losing their job. I could have trained them every day for the next 20 years. It wouldn't have changed the behavior. Understanding that the behavior was because of the root cause of this, understanding why people aren't able to get psychiatric care, why they're stumbling with all the things that supposedly are out there now to help them with resumes, right? Is important. Okay. The other thing I would say before we get into doing group work is you need to understand the ecosystem you're selling into. And by ecosystem, I mean, if you're selling into a university or to the government, how do they make decisions today? Right? So we were talking with this group over here that was, you're doing the solar, right? And I said, well, who you sell to? And they said, government, big businesses, or there was one other group. Other people want to do wind farms, right? Imagine selling into the government is very different than selling into a business that's doing it for profit. So my recommendation to anybody that has multiple audiences, start with one, okay? Because not everybody is going to approach it the same way, have the same needs, the same problems, or the same restrictions. Okay. All right, so here we're going to start with empathy. So you all have Post-its on your desk tops and you have markers. If you don't have enough markers, improvise. Or share with somebody else that does, okay? So the first thing that you have got to figure out when you do empathy is who is your target user or customer. And here's the thing, Penn State is not a customer. It's somebody in a job at Penn State. You don't sell to Penn State. You don't stand out on Old Main and go, Penn State. You know what? You sell to a specific person within Penn State. Same with organizations. So who is the person that you're trying to set the meeting up with or that will use it? Okay, before you start writing, who am I? What are they trying to achieve? Why do they want to do it? What have they tried? How do they work? So here's what I want you to do in your groups, individually, not sharing. We're going to give you 3 minutes and you're going to try to, on a Post-it, single Post-it, every idea, write down as many answers as you can to these questions and include on that Post-it the percent that you're sure that you know you're right. And it's perfectly fine to have 0%. Nobody cares. This is not a test. All right, 3 minutes individually, not talking about it. See if you can write down as many things that you believe are true to answer these questions. Go. What'd you have? Oh, God. Yeah, individually, who you think your customer is. Yeah.
So are we pretending to be the customer?
No, you're writing down characteristics of the person you really believe is your customer. Yes. Yes. If you were going to sell this to somebody or have somebody use it, who are they? What are they trying to do? Why do they want to do that? What have they tried? And how did that work for them? Don't worry about being right. As many as you can. I am an administrator in a large university. I am a, I don't know, patient undergoing therapy. Try to stay away from demographics. I'm a woman. Not all women want the same thing. And none of us want it to always be pink. There it is. All right, guys, listen up. We're going to blow through this. You can do this and continue to do this after this session, okay? some good stuff, right? But I think you're beginning to see, if you aren't drawing a picture in the mind of somebody when you talk about the person, then you're not narrowed down enough. It's very important in the early stages to be very concrete about your customer or your user, because then you can tell a story when you do your pitch that says, this person with these characteristics, some of them may be demographics, some of them more about beliefs or behaviors or things they've done, are searching for this because of that. And your story will hang together really well. One of the things that I heard a lot when I heard these pitches before is, I'm going to sell to anyone that does this, and my solution is going to fix everything. It's just not believable. Okay. And you may have a really great idea and a really great solution, but if you try to solve world peace, you're not believable and people will discount you. So when you do your pitch, if you can build that story, these people, here's data that proves these people need these things. Here's what they've tried. Here's data that proves, and by data, I don't mean the data you're necessarily collecting. I mean like reports. Okay. All right. So that's first. So once you have done a good job of figuring out who your customer is, and I will give you some resources later on that you can use to do this. And I would very much encourage you to go talk to people about the problem and the need. Here's an example. I had a gentleman in the Launchbox who wanted to create a site where you could bet each other on Madden Sports. Okay. Evidently, it's perfectly legal because Madden Sports is a game of skill, not a game of chance. Who knew? Okay. And I said, why do people do that? And he said, they do it for the money. I said, are you sure? Go ask some people. So he interviewed a bunch of people and asked them why they did it. And we did this little exercise. We looked at it and we had a bunch of answers that were all around. I do it for the money. You know, it's my weekend money. It's how I pay my car insurance, et cetera, et cetera. But there was this huge pile over here that was, I like the competition. I like to beat my friends. I like to show off my skills. It was all about status. Okay. Status was the number one motivator. Why is that important? Because when you build the features and you build your leaderboard isn't how much money the person's won. What is it? What's your leaderboard for people that are all about beating other people? What is it? How many people they've taken down, right? That's the most important. Your features, every feature is about helping me to see my status of my skills within this community. And so if you understand the motivation of the individual, it actually defines your feature set. Okay. So that's why we do that. Okay. So after you've gained empathy, and you'll have to do some more work to gain empathy. Okay. You need to articulate the need of your particular user. Okay. So here we go again. We're going to do the same thing. What is the biggest problem and unmet need? Here's what I will tell you. Nobody has ever said, you know what I need? I need an AI algorithm with some machine learning that lets me do. No one in the world has ever said that. Okay. That is not how people define their needs. So your answers to these questions should not be technology answers. Hard to do. Okay. What is the need or the problem? Why can't they fix it? They could not be able to fix it because there's no resources. They could not be able to fix it because there's certain restrictions within the organization that they look. And what's the root cause of the problem? Okay. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. Individually, jot down your answers to these three questions. We'll give you another 3 minutes. Go. Okay. So now compare your answers with others and see if you're agreeing. I love the conversation. I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to say that hopefully you're beginning to get more definition and you're beginning to see where you have some holes in your thinking. Everybody starts with holes in their thinking. If they tell you that they know it all, they're wrong. They're making that up. Okay. We all start there. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with anything, okay? So what you should do at this point is you have a list on your table of assumptions you're making about the person, the problem, and why it's a problem. And part of what you need to do is go figure out if you're right or wrong. And the way you do that is through customer discovery, and we'll give you some resources later on. If you find out that you're wrong, that is amazing. Because then you don't have to deal with it. And you're not making a mistake, okay? And it will help you define the context. For example, solar wind people were saying the problem is pretty clearly defined. People are putting solar, the people's not, the people, but there's lots of people. We don't know who the people are yet. But people are putting these wind farms up in very inefficient places. And the assumption, I think embedded in there, is they don't know the optimal places to put it. And I said, well, how do you know that they don't know the optimal place to put it? How do you know that the optimal place to put it is not somewhere where you can't put it because it's sacred ground? And that really the problem is not that they don't know where it is, but there's bureaucratic issues or there's something in their way. And the reason that's important is because, whoops, what's happened? Oh, you've got something going on up here. The reason that's important is because if you stand up and you say, or you're getting ready to pitch this, I am going to help solar energy people figure out exactly the most pristine place that they could put it that gives them the most energy based on where they on a certain geographic area. Because we know they have problems doing that. And somebody who knows the solar energy would say, we don't have any problem doing that. That's not our problem. You're done. Okay? So that's important. Context. This group over here was talking about venting. You know, when you have a day like we've all had for the last 2 years, we might get a little angry, right? And we might want to vent. But I thought when I was first listening to them that they were talking about people that should be venting to licensed practitioners in the mental health world. But that's not their context. So when you start your story, you need to set the context. Individuals, students who are taking 28 credits or trying to get a job in this crazy market often need to vent. They tend to vent to their friends. And here's the so what or why that's a problem. So 2 things I hope you take out of this. There's a bunch of assumptions you're making about the problem, who has it, and why it's a problem. Go do some research and validate that. And 2, define your context, who and the problem and the nature of the problem as narrowly as you can, because you're more likely to be able to sell it, defend it, and make something that'll fix it. Okay. Next step. Oh, we lost the focus. Hang on. Sometimes with Zoom, if the controls come up, it loses the focus. Okay, so once you think you know what the problem or the need is, there's a clear way to define the need. Why is this important? Because you got to put this in your pitch. Okay. And it goes like this. This person, some characteristics that define the behavior, needs to or wants to do this thing that they're frustrating them or making them angry or whatever, but they can't do it because of this root cause. It is a very simple statement. It is extremely hard to write a simple statement about complex problems, yet we're going to try. Here's an example. A self-described fashion influencer, you have a picture in your head, wants to better track the influence they are having on up-and-coming designers. But they don't have the technical chops to identify or add the right analytics to accurately measure their impact. Okay, it's a simple problem. Okay, so that's an example. What I want you to try to do individually, yes, we need eyewear. A student who can't read the screen. I want you guys to individually try to write a concise statement like this about your target. Now, remember, we've talked about the characters of the problem. We've talked a little bit about what they're trying to do. And we've talked a little bit about why it's a problem. So you've already started this process. So individually, use as many post-its as you like. Try to write a statement. We're not going to even give you 5 minutes. We're going to give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. See if you can do that. It's hard to do. What do we got, Brad? Oh, 4 minutes have gone. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop you there because I want to get you out of here in a reasonable amount of time. Okay. How many of you think you nailed it? Got it. Nailed it. You guys did. Read it. Let's go. Let's hear it. Everybody listen up because you guys are going to have to give feedback. You said you nailed it. Let's do it. Let's brag it. How many people in this room need a job? How many don't need a job? Oh, no buts. No buts. No buts. No buts. Because when you say anytime, and I'm picking on you, okay? Anytime you say everyone, you are wrong. Unless you say everyone needs their heart to beat to be alive. Unless you're doing something like that. So be careful. So narrow it. That's not, we got some, people. But they may already have a job. Okay? They may already have their job. Okay, if you did not know, what is he talking about? There's things in there, there's threads in there. What's the current system he's talking about? I think you know it. I think what happens, you guys probably know this already. What happens is when we write things down, we can't articulate. It happens to all of us, right? Or we start using what I call, this being, I can't say BS bingo words, bullshit bingo, right? We're going to revolutionize and optimize your capacity to streamline your, what does that mean? Okay. So let me ask you, you are focused, and don't lay him out to dry. The rest of you need to jump in here. He gets 20 points, Brad, for being the person to get picked on. You are looking for students who are getting ready to graduate from college and getting ready to start their jobs. Is that fair? What am I missing? Okay. Are they in a particular degree? Are they STEM students? Why not? Because I would venture to say some students have a harder time than others. If you are a computer science student, you probably are not having a hard time finding a job unless you totally sucked at school. And even then, you probably can get a job. I'm talking about failing out of school. Come on. So it's important because the computer science person may have a different problem. I got to find a job in an incredibly competitive market. How do I stand out above the rest? Versus, I'm not casting aspersions, a liberal arts major, right? Less jobs in some ways, more jobs in others, right? Because they're utility players versus, shortstop. So pick your poison. And then they're saying they're having a hard time because, what? Somebody else. Don't throw them under the bus. Yeah. So we know it's a student that's getting ready to graduate and is looking for their first job out in the big bad world as a career. I know you people have jobs all the time. What's the problem they have? What do they need to do? Uh-huh. What do they need to do? Not what do you are going to do for them. What do they want to do?
Individual people.
Yeah. What are they struggling with?
They're spending too much time and they're not getting as efficient results as they could be. Is this working?
Not worth my time. Yeah, it's just for the people
Okay,
playing
gotcha.
along at home.
Yeah, so they're not, those two combined make it not as effective as if we implemented our solution.
So I would venture to say I applied 100 jobs. I spent all this time. I have no idea if I'm even applying to the right job. I have no idea if I've put my resume in the right way. God knows what my cover letter is. Was I too verbose? Was it not enough? All that stuff. And it's creating a lot of anxiety for them. Is that fair? How many of you in this room resonate with that? Okay. All right. Okay. But What's the root cause of the problem? Why are they having this much trouble?
I would say specifically for college students.
Yeah.
we have a lot of. Oh, okay. I'd say for college students, we all have a lot of stress in our lives as well as a lot of time constraints. So finding enough time to not only
Mhm.
search through vast amounts of data
Okay.
for just to find these jobs and then to build your resume and apply to these jobs is just a very time consuming task
Okay.
that a lot of us at the end of the day after all of our schoolwork don't really want to go
Okay.
through.
So I'm going to give you 2 suggestions. When you are pitching ideas to people over 30, be careful about the college students have no time. I'm just telling you, you got to be more specific about it, right? I don't think it's a time issue. I think it's more that they're on the hamster wheel and they have no idea if what they're doing is worth their time. If it's worth their time is precious. I'm spending all this time, I'm carving out days to do this, and I have no idea if I'm even on the right track. Okay. So it's not a time issue as much as it is, I'm not even sure how to do this. Okay. So I think, so you know it, it's just there, you got to dig out. Okay. I want to thank you guys for letting me beat up on you. Okay. So what you're going to do now, okay, is we're going to think we know what the problem is. We're going to think we know what the customer is. So pick one in your head, agree on what that is. And we want to do something now. It's called a how might we statement. Okay. A how might we statement is a way that you can quantify what you're trying to do in a way that you can use that as your true north. Okay. So for example, we do a lot with entrepreneurship with students. One of the biggest problems we have is nobody knows about us, right? We have this big old building. Nobody knows about the Launchbox, right? We cannot figure out how to effectively communicate what we do to students because they're too busy applying for all these jobs, right? They don't have time. They're not reading any lists. First of all, listservs. Why in the world universities still use listserv? I don't know. Okay. Even if it's on social media, you're not following my feed because why would you, right? So that is a problem that we have here. And a how might we statement I would say is, how might we ensure that every student, the minute they step foot on this campus, know about every entrepreneurial opportunity? That's crazy. But a how might we statement is supposed to make your head hurt. How might we ensure that students can apply to less jobs with less time and be more likely to get their perfect job? That's what you want for them, right? Or how might we figure out a way for them to apply to one job and get it? That's crazy. The why do we make how might we statements crazy is because it pushes you to think outside the box and think more innovative and more disruptive. Okay. So I'm gonna, these are some examples of the influencer. We're gonna skip this because I think we're running out of time. But here's what we want to do. Okay. You have written down a problem. You have a person, you have a problem, you have a root cause, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into ideating. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give everybody in here superpowers. You do not have to worry about if it's technically feasible. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about technical prowess. Okay. And we're going to have you spend some time coming up with ideas for how to solve the need that you wrote down with the I need to do this statement. Okay. I want you to think past the problem. For example, bike helmets. If I am commuting to work and I'm a woman, why might not I wear a bike helmet? It's going to mess it up, right? I'm going to look like a dork all day long and I have a helmet head. Okay. And it's going to affect me professionally and I don't want to do that, right? Okay. So what would I want? Ultimately, I don't want to fall off and have head trauma, right? What do I ultimately want to be able to do? Get to work. Yep. Keep, right? And boom. I want a way to protect my head without wearing anything on my head. That sounds crazy. Guess how you do it? How would you know the answer? You seen the video? Yeah. So it's an airbag for your head. Literally, it's a collar that fits around. It has an impact sensor and a gyroscope in it. And so when you're off kilter, it goes. Why? Because they started with what the customer wanted. I want a way to protect my head. I don't want anything on my head. And then they said, where is there a context where somebody is protected from physical harm without wearing a thing? And somebody said, oh, it's an airbag. Oh, she needs an airbag for her head. And they're like, well, okay, let's do that. And these engineers in Sweden did it. Okay. So that's what I want you to think today. Don't think about your current solution. Think past it. At some point you have to bring it down, but I want you to come up with, get a bunch of Post-its, okay? Bunch of Post-its, new Post-its, and you are gonna write down, listen up before you start talking, because guys, okay? There are no bad ideas, none, okay? Channel your inner 5-year-old. If you get stuck, here are some prompts. Write down the worst idea you can possibly think of, right? How would Bill Nye the Science Guy do it? How would your superhero use their superpowers to do it? And how the hell would the TikTok community fix it? Okay. And what I want you to do, okay, is you can have, if you're at home, you can write down 15 ideas. I want each person to try to write down 15 different ideas without talking to anybody else. You got 3 minutes to do it. Go. Go. Think crazy. Think big. Magic wand. 15 ideas each. What do we got, Brad? We're good. All right. All right. How many people had more than 5? Yes. More than 10? Yup. More than had 15. All right, this is the brain. We love that. We love that. We love it. Okay, now, all right. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna share your ideas with your group. Pick maybe the top 5. This is not a discussion on the merits of the idea. This is an idea for you just to share. Okay, so read it out loud. Throw it out on the thing. Read another one out loud, and you're gonna spend. We'll do 2 minutes. 2 minutes sharing your ideas. Go. I love the conversations. Listen up. I know this sounds crazy, but this is how you come up with more disruptive ideas. And the more disruptive the ideas, the more likely you need technology to disrupt. This group over here was working on, right, delivery services for people on campus, right? Yeah. Okay. And he said, we want the products, right? The products to have eyes, so they can see when they need to get reordered, right? Because he like anthropomorphized the product. That ain't crazy, because we got to talking about it. How might he have the product be the one to tell you that it needs to be reordered? What? How could you do that? To sense what? Yeah, weight. It's a bottle of ketchup. You know what a bottle of ketchup weighs? When it gets down to a certain thing, it already this exists. This exists today. Reorders. Or there's a sensor that looks at how high it is filled up. Right? So this concept of give it eyes so that it can see when it needs to reorder itself isn't that crazy when you start thinking about how to do it. And that's the beauty of this process. Okay, here's what you're going to do. We're going to do the last step. Okay? In your teams, all right? If you are working at home and you're by yourself, get a piece of paper and break it into 6 things, and you're going to draw your prototype. For the rest of us here, you're going to pick one idea in a minute, and you're literally going to prototype it, and we have supplies over here, okay? Of all sorts of things. We have tape, we have this, we have monkey foam, which is the best thing, we have Play-Doh, okay? So here's what you're going to do. Listen, listen, listen. Okay? Listen, listen, listen. So what you're going to do now is you've come up with ideas as a group, people here, you're going to vote on one idea. Everybody gets one vote. If it's a tie, whoever's birthday is coming up next gets to pick. Okay? So right now, pick one idea that you want to work on as a group. Vote on it and pick it. One idea. If you have not decided, whoever's birthday is next, pick. You get to pick the idea. Okay? And here's what you're going to do. All right, you're going to have, I'm going to give you 4. Listen up. Guys, please. I know we're over and I want to get you out of here. Okay? As much as I know this is all you ever want to do all the rest of the night. So, got your idea. You have 4 minutes. You're going to build one prototype to illustrate what your idea could be as a group. You can use any of those materials. 4 minutes, go. Okay, as Matthew McConaughey says, I love the energy in the room. I want to go home. So, still at work, guys. Shop. All right, who would like to share their prototype? And the way this works is the person has to stand up and say, the problem that I'm solving is this. And here's how I'm going to solve it. Go for it. The problem you are solving is what?
So the problem that we're solving is that, oh, thank you. When people donate, sometimes they don't know where the money is going when they donate to an NPO. So sometimes that discourages people to donate, and that's a problem. So the way our prototype works is that there are 4 key components. There's a donor, there's an organization.
Stand up, donor. Where's your sign?
Thank you very much.
There he is. There's your
There's
sign.
an AI, there's an
AI doesn't
organization,
stand ever.
and there's the receiver.
Ah,
So the donor gives a bunch of money to the organization.
oh,
Thank
look
you
at
very
this.
much.
We have action.
In return, I'll give you something called a token, which you're
Oh.
going to use later. Your organization has the AI administer the money. The donor votes for a charity they want to donate to. The AI donates that money, which is received by the receiver. And now, the donor gets a personal connection, which would be a story of how their money is actually making an impact in the world. So they would receive, let's say, if this organization is building houses in Africa, they're going to say like, hey, with your money, we'll actually be able to build these 3 houses that now house around 5 families or something like this.
All right. Can we give him a hand? Now, what they could do at this point, having built nothing, if you built something, I don't want to know. They could go do this little skit, AI hat and all, with their potential customer or user and say, what do you think? What do you think? And if they say, oh my God, how do I donate? You know, you're onto something. If they say, but what do you mean? I give you my money and I don't know where it's going to. And you'd be like, oh, that's a problem. We have to fix that. So this is how you do lean customer discovery and development. The coder in you wants to code this. You don't have to code it to get feedback from the customer. You can just do what you just did. And they'll tell you where the holes are. Then you will be building stuff that you know they want. And I guarantee you this is faster. It will seem longer because a lot of times we look at success as the number of lines of code we've created or something that I can actually look at and say, I built that. Now, you can spend 9 months building something and then show it to somebody and they'll be like, why would I do that? You can do that, or you can take a low fidelity prototype and figure it out. So that's well done. Who else wants to share? Nobody? You don't want it, the wrath of Lee? But I was just very nice to them. And they did a really, oh, nobody wants to follow you guys because you nailed it, you know? Anyone? Bueller? Nobody? I won't make you. All right. They don't want to share. Does anybody from home? No, it's hard to put people from the home to share. Okay. So I want to leave you with a couple things. What I just talked to you about was testing. Going out and showing people what you're thinking and then asking them what they think. Okay? Not trying to convince them that it's the right solution, but just listening to them. You will learn a ton. Okay. So what? Who cares? When you are pitching this and you say, my customer is this person, I went and I talked to 40 of them, and here's what I learned. I learned that this was the number one problem, this was the number two problem, and here's why it was a problem. So my solution addresses this problem this way, this problem this way, and this problem this way. I have shown it as a low fidelity prototype to 40 customers who validated that I was right. What you want is the judges to go, oh, I see it. It's yes. You're not looking for a big reveal at the end. You're looking for this logical story, step by step, where they can say, you get it. You understand the problem, who has it, why it's a problem, and your solution directly aligns. Okay. You guys can come here and co-work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, here in this space or downstairs in the lobby. It's totally free. We have a couple programs if you're interested in. If anybody wants to turn this into an idea, I think Brad has already told you the Summer Founders Program, $15,000 grant to work on your company over the summer, full-time, here in State College, okay? You get a ton of other resources and you get connected to a lot of people. We have legal clinics that can help you in other things. So I'm going to leave you with that. You guys have been wonderful. I'm going to ask you before you go to put back the stuff that you took, unless you destroyed it, which is fine. Then throw it in the recycling. Unfortunately, they don't let us have bags in here. You can leave the Post-its that have not been written on and the Sharpies on the table, and throw the other Post-its on your way out. Thank you for your time. Brad, do you have anything else you want to say?
Thank you, Reed.
Yay. I will never say no to fanfare. Oh. Mm.